Just then the man shrieked about 30 billion. After a while he got up from his seat and placed his hands on either side of the table. Because of such a loud shriek, even the people sitting near their table looked around in surprise, not understanding what had caused the noise. The boy explained that Yujin's offer had been for a 3 billion won building, so he figured this guild was offering him a building twice as expensive. The man pondered how strong the boy truly was. Perhaps he was bluffing since no one could verify his power. The boy said that if they didn't believe him he could prove it, but in the meantime he thought to himself that maybe the chief knew about their relationship with Jin-Ho but had misunderstood something. The man was already mentally panicking, realizing that Jin-Woo might not be bluffing after all, and admitted that such a large sum was beyond his current capabilities, but that he needed time to discuss. The boy didn't leave him waiting long, and standing up while pushing back his chair said the meeting was over. The man clenched his jaw, thinking that if he hadn't rushed in to learn the details of someone else's deal, none of this would have happened. But he was pulled out of those thoughts by the boy, who had turned his back to the chief and drawn attention by turning his head toward the man, bluntly asking where he had gotten information about him. The boy clearly wasn't shy about asking such things, directly questioning whether the chief had looked into his past, making the man, when suddenly a drop of blood appeared on the man's cheek. The man didn't know how to respond and felt drops of cold sweat begin to run down his face. At one point the boy vanished, and the man fearfully wondered if he was using a disguise. He then heard words behind him telling him not to turn around, and suddenly realized why Yu Jin had made such a suggestion. The man began to confess that he hadn't intentionally conducted any investigation, and he continued to speak, citing 3 global incidents as proof of someone else's strength as a high-ranking hunter. He mentioned that perhaps Jin-Ho had witnessed Jin-Woo's abilities during the second raid. The boy bluntly asked how many people currently knew about him, and the man replied honestly that only he and one subordinate, who was now eating lunch and thinking about his boss. The boy assumed he had been exposed due to his high gate clear rate and said he didn't want many people knowing about him. He then asked if a rumor about him got out, could he consider the chief and his subordinate responsible. The chief, slightly nervous, covered his eyes and said he was obligated to report it to the guild master, but he didn't particularly want to die so soon. The man added that he would properly convey the message to his subordinate, only to be thanked in return. The boy went on explaining that due to his extensive dungeon clearing, they had inadvertently hindered the White Tiger Guild, though they wouldn't stop. The man looked at him with slight nervousness, adding that there were fewer dungeons now and that newcomers still needed training. The boy looked at the chief confidently and offered a deal that would apparently fix everything. The man didn't quite understand what the boy was proposing and wondered aloud what he was expected to say. The boy then offered to sell them 3 gates they had reserved, stating that this offer was for today only and that it would be difficult for others to find such gates. The man thought that this boy was quite cunning, and since it would be tough to train newcomers, he agreed and asked the price. Without hesitation, the boy stated that he wanted 300 million won, one for each gate, causing the man to panic at the number. He said the price was beyond their guild's capabilities and offered a maximum of 200 million. The boy didn't seem interested in arguing and settled for 200 million. The man nervously extended his hand for a handshake, asking if they had a deal, and Jin-Woo said he was expecting 600 million won in his account. The boy seemed to recall a gift, forcing the man to open his mouth and receive a red liquid. Shocked, the man watched as the wounds on his face instantly healed, leaving nothing behind. Amazed, the man asked if he showed his aiming skills, could Jin-Woo trust him, and then requested that his secret be kept. The boy left the building while the man remained seated at the desk until a stunned subordinate ran up and asked about the glow on his face and whether they had secured the deal. The man, still recovering from the encounter, said they had met someone far more terrifying than expected. Meanwhile, the boy raised a phone to his ear to confirm that 600 million won had arrived in his account. The caller on the other end asked who he had sold the cancelled gate to, and the man replied that it was a trade secret. There was some shouting in the background. Coming from the second manager's office. There was noise and commotion. Something had clearly gone wrong. The chief appeared visibly shocked upon hearing the news from a subordinate that a C-rank gate still remained within their territory. A subordinate nervously extended his phone to the chief, reporting that the price at the gate was no more than 10 million won. The chief couldn't believe what he was seeing. The subordinate, still uneasy, added that Yu Jin-Ho's team hadn't booked any gates for the day. The chief began to tremble, stunned by the realization that they had been deceived, made to pay for something that didn't exist at all. And now he had just failed the recon. The man could only reflect bitterly on the fact that he had acted without any fear, not even considering the possibility that the chief might expose someone else's identity. Then someone called, and an unknown number sent a new message. It was from Jin-Woo, stating that it was compensation for them digging into his past. The man exhaled, realizing this was exactly what Jin-Woo had anticipated all along, and recognized just how skilled and formidable the hunter truly was. Surprisingly, he calmed down, remarking that even in this roundabout way, he had still managed to get Jin-Woo's number, so one had to be content with what one had. He added that the money spent wasn't a significant amount for the White Tiger Guild, though he might still face issues with his superiors. Jin-Woo, dressed in a sports uniform, stood with his hands clenched and announced aloud that he was about to start something. As he spoke, a purple glow appeared in front of him, dazzling everything around with its brightness and creating a powerful atmosphere. His hair was slightly tangled and lifted by the surge of energy. He mentioned changing jobs, saying it sounded pretty good. A large purple glow formed before his body as if beckoning him to step inside. While he wondered what kind of monsters might be in there, the glow gradually shifted through various colors, becoming alternately brighter and darker, drawing in anyone's attention. In that moment, it felt as though the game had finally become real for him.